Hello and welcome everyone to the Google Developers Africa Hangout episode 3. On the panel today we have a couple of GDEs, Google Developer Experts, as well as some Googlers as well. Just to remind you about the GDE program, it is a program that is open to all developers. It involves two basic requirements, a technical expertise in a certain product or technology from Google, and a passion to share this technology with other developers locally or in the community around you. So as a benefit of this, you basically get support for your activities from Google, speaking at conferences and the like. You also get a close relationship with Googlers. So big benefit of this program, especially for me, is that we have quite a close relationship with some technical leads at Google, and when Google, as we know, Google is at the forefront of pushing technologies in web and mobile, we get a good access to this amount of information and experience out of this. So just to remind you, this show is a monthly show. We try to run it as often as we can. We provide it as a recorded video for viewing afterward as well. We provide a downloadable MP3 as well. The show is theme-based, so we pick a theme, we discuss the theme, and then we take some questions on this. So if you have any specific themes that you'd like us to cover in some episodes, please reach out to us and let us know. So I'm going to hand it over to GDE Kenneth to introduce the panel some more for us.
Hi everyone. So welcome to this show. First of all, I'm going to introduce a panel which comprises of a couple of GDEs and Googlers. First up is Johan Dutoit, who's a cloud GDE from Cape Town. So he'll raise his hand. We also have Hiren Patel, a cloud GDE from Cape Town. We have Dale Hamby, also a cloud GDE from Cape Town, and myself. We have Mercy Orangi, who's a developer ecosystem community manager for Sub-Saharan Africa, and she's more focused on the Google Launchpad program. We have Charles Odili, who's a Googler based in the Nigeria office. We have Liz Yespen, who's also a Googler, and she's been supporting this show since the start. Since Hiren told us that this show is theme-based, this show will focus on material design, and specifically we'll be talking about material design on the web with material design light. So we always have a spotlight segment, and this show we will have Charles Odili on the spotlight. We'll also be taking a couple of questions after Hiren presents, and also we'll be closing up and wrapping up. So I'd like to jump into the spotlight section with Charles. So, hi Charles. Could you tell us about yourself?
My name is Charles Odili. I'm a Googler based in the Lagos office in Nigeria. Before joining Google, I was a web developer for 5 to 6 years with the University of Benin in Benin City of those states in Nigeria.
Okay, Charles. So could you tell us your current role at Google and what you actually focus on?
Okay, so I'm the developer community. I'm the Google developer community manager for Sub-Saharan Africa. The same team with Mercy. Mercy is based in the Kenyan office, and I'm based in the Nigerian office. I'm basically focused on developer communities in Sub-Saharan Africa, including GDGs. Yes.
So you mentioned GDGs. Could you tell us a little bit about the GDGs, since you've been hearing about them, and some of the events that they have in the community?
Sure. So GDG stands for Google Developer Groups, and they are groups or communities of developers who share like mind, share passion, come together, meet from time to time to learn and share ideas, collaborate and network, and grow their skill. from one level to the other. These communities are spread across several cities in different countries across sub-Saharan Africa. We currently have over 100 of them, and they are very well spread. So we have several in major cities, not like other cities are not major anyway. And yeah, most of the major cities in Africa have our GDGs well represented, and there are communities of developers. And we encourage everyone to join and participate in the community effort that's going on across Africa. Yeah.
Okay. So there's been a lot of buzz on Google Plus with the GDGs, especially something about the DevFest series, and I've also been seeing a couple of hashtags going through about the Google Developer Kits. Could you tell us, something about what the DevFest series is all about, and maybe also mention what the Google Developer offline kits are all about?
Yeah, sure. So the GDGs have several events. They have meetups, they have code lab sessions, they have tech talks, they have hackathons, they have study jams, and a very big part of this event series are what we call the Dev Fest. So the Dev Fest are generally larger GDG events that involve like hands-on and deep dive sessions where developers can have the opportunity to get their hands dirty on code, get their hands, on like latest technologies from Google or from other open source initiatives. And the DevFest series are starting about now through to November across the globe, and the same thing is happening in SSA. So we are seeing several DevFests across several GDGs in Sub-Saharan Africa. We encourage developers to join these events for an opportunity to like get their hands dirty on the latest Google technology. Uh,
Okay.
in, in line with that, we also have the offline developer kit, which is an initiative from Google to help the African developer make the most of technologies, irrespective of the challenges that we have in Africa, including power and internet. So the average developer or most developers who have challenges of internet can look to the offline developer kit because it packages content, including SDKs, including APIs, including documentation. It brings all of this from the internet and puts them in a digital format like on a CD and on a USB, such that the developer will have access to these resources and they can learn, they can watch their videos, they can do their coding without necessarily having to be online. These kits are available right now through the GDGs. So we encourage developers to join these communities and avail themselves of the opportunity of the offline kit.
Okay, so Charles, since you started working with Google and working with GDGs, what's your view on what to expect from GDG members or developers in Sub-Saharan Africa in the next couple of months or 1 year?
Okay, so a lot has been going on with GDGs for some time now. Taking this year, for example, early this year we did the Study Jam series. It allowed GDGs to have a series of events on Android development, and some GDGs members built their first Android app through the Study Jam. Another series of events have also held too. And we are also approaching the Breakfast series, which I said is a hands-on deep dive series of events. So in the coming months, up to let's say the next 1 year, we expect our developers to have better skills, to have more experience, to have collaborated more, and we expect to see more apps on the Play Store. Even those who already have apps, we expect them to improve these apps with the APIs and the technologies that they've learned from all these events that I've held. So we expect more apps and we expect more polished apps from GDBs. Yeah.
Also, coming up from a web development background, as you mentioned, at the University of Benin, what's your viewpoint on material design light?
So Material Design Lite is a great library. I love it. I've used it a couple of times in projects. Material Design is a new design language from Google, and Material Design Lite has helped me to like implement material design on my projects. So I love it, and I encourage our developers to embrace it because it will give them cool user experiences in their apps. So it's what's really good now. Worth checking out.
That's amazing. So now we will be jumping into the main session where we'll be having Hiren taking us through material design on the web using Material Design Lite. Hiren.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. All right, so material design, quite an exciting design spec or design language by Google. The full spec of the language is at design.google.com, and pretty much in a nutshell in this presentation, if you look to the screenshot on the right, material design involves using complementing in bold colors, beautiful typography, supporting elements as well as floating elements or floating papers, uh, and it brings together all these elements of the UI into one sort of user experience that's meant to, at the end of the day, make the user experience for this specific app or this specific page really beautiful. So it combines the different elements and interactions between the elements to give the user a beautiful user experience. So you're encouraged to see the entire design spec at design.google.com. We've seen material design before, mostly on Android up till now. And over here you can see in the screenshots the bold colors, the beautiful typography in the calculator app for Android. In the last screenshot, that's the dialer app, and you can see the beautiful call to action floating button for the hang up there. And so this is what material design is about. It's about making a really beautiful user interface and interactions for the app and giving your user a beautiful experience as a result. So this is great on Android. And so I asked myself, if I were to build a new user interface, be it on Android or anything else, why would I use material design and how? And the first thing to note there is that material design is not just for Android. Even though you primarily see it on Android today, it's not locked into the platform in any way. In fact, Google is pushing huge efforts into making it available on the web. But you can use material design pretty much anywhere you need a beautiful user experience, really. So another reason I would use it is that Google has whole teams doing research around user experience and user interfaces. For me, as a small developer team or a lone developer, I would, rather leverage off this research that's already been done and not have to do it myself. Another reason is the tooling is also done for me. So on Android in the form of libraries, and these days on the web in the form of material design libraries as well. You're not having to build the elements and the parts of the UI manually yourself. There's libraries that give you this already. So a lot of the tooling is done for you. And pretty much the main reason I would use material design in a user interface these days is to give the user a beautiful experience. Even if you're a lone developer or have a small team, you're now able to give users an amazing experience leveraging not just the tools, but all the research that comes behind material design. So what options do we have when we're looking at material design for the web? There's Polymer, which we've heard of, and Polymer has been having material design elements for a while now. Although Polymer includes a lot of new web technology as well, and Polymer is is about more than just material design. Polymer is also a fairly large component and sort of not as easy to integrate into smaller new apps compared to other libraries that are out there. So the next one, and a really nice one to get into if you're starting out, is Material Design Lite. And so this is a library provided by Google, open source as well. The library firstly depends on no JavaScript framework as such, so it's a really light a library and doesn't depend on anything. It is optimized for cross-device use, which is really important these days, with mobile being really important within Africa itself. You definitely want to use something that's optimized for mobile. It degrades gracefully in all the browsers, so it doesn't break. And it offers an immediately accessible experience starting out with material design, which was quite important for me. So what do you get with Material Design, Material Design Lite? Firstly, everything you need to know is at getmdl.io. The documentation lives there, the example, the templates, and everything pretty much getting started. And what you get by using this library is new UI controls that conform to material design. So these are checkboxes, buttons, and the usual controls you're used to in HTML already that have been revamped to conform to the material design spec. But you also get some specialized features. Among them are cards, column layouts, sliders, spinners, and some beautiful typography. So what else do you get with this library? You get some templates with GitHub links to the templates. So if you're needing to adjust the templates, they can be done easily. And let me show you quickly what some of those templates look like. So over on the MDL, getmdl.io, there's some templates for a blog. We have some templates for dashboards, text-heavy web pages, and standalone articles. So you can leverage some of these templates as well. So you also get a theme builder. Material design is about using a primary color and a supporting accent color in your UI, and they make it really easy to choose these colors well. So if you head over to getmdl.io, one of the links is around customizing your theme. And so you'll pick a primary color, you'll pick a supporting accent color, and you can see to the right of the screenshot, as I pick my colors, this basically changes to show me what my UI might look like. And lastly, there's a really active and vibrant GitHub and Stack Overflow community around this project or this library. So if you get stuck or you have any issues around this, be sure to check out the GitHub issues link. Be sure to check out Stack Overflow for the project as well. So let's look at a simple example for Material Design Lite. I was chatting to a friend recently who was looking to build a simple web survey, and I thought, why don't I throw together a simple web survey for him? It was regarding a product at a store, so I thought, why not just have a mock survey around avocados at a store called My Store? And so I began to put together a simple web survey for him using Material Design Lite to see what this could come out and look like. So there were two requirements from him on this. The first is that it needs to be mobile friendly, mostly because the primary audience for this was going to be mobile users, and it must offer a beautiful user experience. So there are many survey tools and web frameworks out there. This needs to sort of set itself apart by giving a better or a more beautiful user experience as such. So in doing this, I used a couple of the components from the Material Design Lite library. Some of these are cards, the drawer, which I only wanted on smaller screens. Then I used the slider on one of the questions. I used the radio box, checkbox, and text boxes for other questions, and then I used the button for the submit of the survey. So let's quickly have a look at what this looks like. And basically, my page came out to look like this. You can see that I've got a question per card. I then have a header at the top. I have some links on the header to the right. I've used the controls within each card, so I've used the slider, I've used the radio boxes, the check boxes, etc. And then just to show you how this is sort of geared toward any screen size, if I minimize this window for you, you will see how the elements sort of arrange themselves nicely. So we can see that firstly, the links on the header are gone and they're folded into a drawer, which I can access by clicking on the hamburger icon. Each of my cards has folded to basically settle one beneath each other. And just to quickly show you what these elements are like in Material Design, if you click around on the slider, you can see that it animates in a really beautiful way. If I click on the radio box, you can see that there's a beautiful ripple effect on the radio box. The same goes for the checkboxes, and you can see that it's conforming to the color of the theme as well. You can see on the text box that the hint text sort of floats beautifully to the top as I click it, and then the button sort of gives you the Material Design ripple. So it's worth noting that all these work on touch as well as normal web clicks as well. So this is what it turned out to be like. And I'm going to walk you through what I needed to do to basically get that page running in the way that it looks. So firstly, every HTML page you will need to include four things. The first one is a CSS file based on your choice of colors for the Material Design UI. The second one is the JavaScript file. It's pretty small. As you know, the library is built to be light. The third one is the Material Design icons, which are open source icons for you to make use of. And the last one is the viewport meta tag, which is really important to enable this to work across different screen sizes. So the first thing I did after putting those four in is getting some sort of layout together. And what I did here was I needed to put a header in there, and Material Design Lite gives you choices of a couple of headers. So you can have a scrolling header, a fixed header, a header that always has the nav bar shown, and so on. So I've picked the fixed header over here, which means if I scroll, the header stays there. And you can have as many header rows within the header as you want as well. So the next thing I did was define a grid. And over here, all I did was I have a div, and I've given it a CSS class of MDL grid. And Material Design grids work sort of in the same way that Bootstrap's grids work. You have 12 columns, and as you shrink the size of the screen in terms of the width, the columns decrease into 4 and 8, sorry, 8 and 4. And so what I've got here is I've defined my cells being 4 columns wide, which is why on a large screen I have 3 cards in a row. If I reduce this, it goes down to 2 and 1 card. So the next thing I have is in every cell, I've got a div, and I've turned the div into a card by putting some CSS classes on here, MDL card, which we can see in the third line of the code, and that gives me the card effect you see on the screenshot in the right. So in some of the cards, I've used the different elements from the control elements from the library, and here I'm just inserting a CSS class called MDL slider on my input element, and you'll see that this basically provides me with the beautiful slider and the animations on the slider we saw. This is the radio buttons. Here again as well, the input element simply has a class of MDL radio button. The label for the radio has a class of MDL radio, and this sort of gets them to work together in the material design way and gives them the ripple effect as well. So for the rippling, you'll see I've got the MDL JS ripple effect CSS class on this element. With the checkboxes, it's pretty much the same story. I've just got MDL checkbox on my label as a CSS class, and for my input box, I've got checkbox MDL checkbox input. And for my input box, I've also just assigned some classes to the CSS, MDL text field, and you can see that in the hint there, I've got MDL text field label. So pretty much the common thing you've seen from this is that this library pretty much involves you putting CSS classes in your already built up elements to give them this material design effect and look. And this is how easy and what the library is all about. There's nothing fancy involved. It's just a matter of putting the classes within your already defined elements to give you these effects. So here I've got the button, again, a simple button, and I've given it the MDL button and the MDL JS ripple classes, and this turns it into a rippling material design button. So at the end of this is what I have. On the full screen page, it looks with 3 cards per row. The moment you shrink that down to the mobile size, it arranges beautifully in a single column. And lastly, some resources. So you will get started at getmdl.io. The frequently asked questions page on that site has some really interesting stuff for beginning out. I found it quite useful. And then the GitHub and Stack Overflow pages are really useful as well. If you run into any issues, I think those are the first places you would go and have a look for. And that pretty much wraps up the presentation.
Thank you very much, Shiran, for that awesome presentation. So we will be taking questions, and we'll have Dale and Johan answering and monitoring questions from live attendance. You could post your questions on the Q&A that's on the right on Google Plus as well.
So while we wait for, oh sorry, Johan. While we wait for some of those questions to come in, I wanted to know from Hiren, how big is the library? I know some of these frameworks and libraries get quite big. How much is it going to add to my page if I put this on? Bearing in mind, I'm probably going to be using this on my mobile device. I don't want it to charge too much.
Yep, so it touts itself as a light library, and so I've looked into this, and the three pieces you need are the CSS, the JS, and the icons, and combined they work out to under 30 kilobytes in size. And I found that once I had them and they were cached, that was that. So really small, under 30 kilobytes in total.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
So a question from me on that is, do you need the entire library? So is it a framework that you use one shot, just the entire thing, or can you use parts of it?
Yes, so it wasn't designed to be split into pieces and selected by piece. Pretty much, there's three pieces you need. It's, as I mentioned, the CSS file, the JS, and the icons, and that's the entire library. So you wouldn't pick pieces of it. You would include those three, and you get the entire, everything it has to offer.
And can we use Material Design Lite on our mobile apps?
Yes, most definitely. So one of the main goals of the library was to allow sort of a seamless experience across different screen sizes. And we saw from the demo that as I shrunk the size, sort of everything folded over beautifully. So one of the main cases is being able to use this across different screen sizes and different devices. It'll support all the latest browsers up to 2 versions back, and it will gracefully degrade on older browsers. So a definite yes for mobile use cases as well.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Okay, so we have a question in on the live page from Gary. So for Angular apps, should we continue to use Angular material, or would you recommend to use MDL?
So from my perspective, if you're already using Angular material, I would continue using that. I think Material Design Lite is meant to be something really simple and easy to get started out with on material design. And I see it more as a library you would use in a framework that's not doing material design already, that you want to incorporate it into.
Awesome, thank you. Dale?
How is it to change the colors of the branding?
So that's really simple. I'm going to quickly show you via Screenshare the page provided on the getmdl.io to allow you to customize this. So this is the customization page for the primary and the supporting accent color. And you can see here that if I've chosen 2 colors, firstly, as mentioned, it does update. It does update the UI to the right, so you can immediately see what it is. And the moment you like that, it puts the HTML link tag at the bottom here for you. So all you would need to do is, once you're happy with the UI, you take this the link tag and copy and paste that into your HTML, and you get the new look. So really simple.
Thank you.
Cool.
We also have another question that has just come from Moi from Nigeria. So she asks, how is the theme set for the different colors?
How is the theme set?
Yes.
So once you've chosen the primary and the supporting accent color, basically your UI will conform to the spec as such. So in any cases where the spec is using the primary color, your UI is going to use the primary color. And in cases where it's using the supporting color, it would use that. So it's going to apply your primary and your supporting color as per the spec throughout your UI.
Okay, thank you. So now
I think we have one. Sorry.
Oh, we have another question.
Yes, yeah, so just last one probably. So we know there's an Android design guideline, and a question is there any equivalence for material design on the web?
Not that I have come across. I'm not sure if any of the other GDEs are aware. I would think that a lot of the guidance offered over the UI within Android might be applicable as well for mobile, especially for mobile use cases. The design language is pretty much the same, so I would go with that for starters.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Dale and Johan, for helping us in moderating the questions and answering them, and also Hiran for the nice job. Now we'll move to Dale, who will spotlight a couple of local events and the cool stuff that the GDE program has been working on. And so I'll let Dale tell you more.
Hey everyone. A few weeks ago, we had the Google Developer Summit in Africa, and that was held in 3 cities: in Lagos on the 19th of August, in Nairobi on the 22nd, and Cape Town on the 25th of August. And this was an event hosted by Google and a lot of the Google developer experts from around Africa. It was a 2-track conference over 1 day, and the first track was focused on material design for Android, and the second track was cloud and a web track. And for me, I attended the cloud and web track, being a cloud GDE, and I think what was really exciting for me was that most people in Africa, they access their internet through the phone or through their cell phones, and it's a barrier to entry having to download and install applications if you're an app developer, and so having really great mobile web apps on your phone being able to attract an audience on that is good, because it means you don't have to worry about doing the installation. And these 2 talks focused on new tools for web developers, which bring web app functionality closer to that of mobile applications. The first talk was on push notifications for Chrome, and this allows web apps to send notifications or a website to send notifications down to the website or on your Chrome browser, just as it were like on the Android devices, like native Android push notifications. The second talk was on offline page caching, which is one of my favorite technologies at the moment. This allows your web app to cache data, so it can still work even when the app's offline, and then synchronize when you get your connection back. And that could be because you choose to switch off your data because you're roaming, or it could be because you're just on a poor data connection. So those are the 2 talks that I attended while there. And if you would like a summit, a Google Summit, to come to one of your cities, please post in the Google Plus page. And we'll also be putting up links to the slides and the code labs that we had, so you guys can do them yourselves.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dale. Just to add on that, on the DevFest series, be aware that you might see a Google developer expert speaking about the technology such as service workers, so you could make sure you attend one of those sessions. So right now, this brings us to the end of the show, but before that, I would like to tell you the mediums that we use to share our content mostly. We have the Google Developers Africa Google Plus community, which can be just found on this short URL, g.co/dev/Africa, and that automatically brings it to the community. Just join it. GDEs have been always monitor anything that comes through that channel, and also we post our event links there. We'll also be posting a feedback link for the show, and also we like to hear good feedback about the show. Tell us what you want to improve. Tell us some of the sessions you'd like to hear about from the GDG side. So thank you very much for joining us in this show. See you next month. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.